Hey friends, today is April the 7th. It's 91 degrees out and we were gonna go to the greenhouse and put some winter type plants outside. We were gonna try to put some lettuces and carrots and sweet peas and some of the things that like the cooler weather that are in the wicking tubs in the greenhouse. We were gonna move those tubs outside. Looked at the 10-day forecast, and there's snow in the forecast. Like today's Tuesday, Sunday, this coming Sunday, there's a chance of snow. There's a 31 in there, a nighttime low of a 31. So now what? I guess we stall here for a week. So we're talking about planting some more row type crops, beans, green beans, carrots, anything we can do in rows that we can put seed in the ground that gives us 4, 5, 7 days delay. We're going to do that while we're waiting here. Strange weather, 91 today and snow coming, and that's, I tell everybody, grow your own food and become self-sufficient. I tell you what, this year it's challenging us a little bit. The weather's being a little bit tough to get along with. But anyway, we've got that new garden plot, and I've got the old big dog tiller here. Last year we used him, break some things up, and he wasn't running real good, and so we're gonna give the carburetor a good clean in here. I think the carb is going to come off and give it a good cleaning and see if we can get him running better. That's one of the things out on the farmstead. You better be pretty good with a wrench or know somebody that is, or have a shop where you can take something like this in. And I happen to be just one of those kids that grew up, I tore everything apart to see how it worked. Not sure how my dad put up with that, but anyway, I was always taking something apart and I learned from it. So today we're gonna look at this tiller here, fuel tank on the front. They got the motor buried kind of underneath there, but this is where the air cleaner was, which was plenty dusty and needs a good cleaning itself. And there's a box. There's an air box here that we're going to take off, and underneath here is the carburetor. So we're going to get down to the carburetor, get it off, and clean that thing up. I think it's gummed up from setting in the winter time. That happens a lot with garden tools. Good practice is to run them out of fuel before you put them away, so everything's dry. A lot of them have a fuel cutoff now on the tank, which is a good thing. Run them dry before you put them away, and you won't have these problems. I think that happened to this one before I got a hold of it, and I've just kind of babied it, and it's never run quite right, but we're going to get it running right today. My first time to shoot a video like this. As you can see, the intake, that's that hole right there, to the motor, no longer has a carburetor here on these two bolts. I've got the carburetor off. The carburetor takes fuel from the fuel line and outside air from the air box. Remember that we had the air box off and the air filter's dirty on this one, and mixes it for idle and for a power setting. And it's just a metal block or device with some passageways through it to allow the air through it, mix fuel, spray fuel, stream of fuel into the air, and there's another butterfly, putting mixed air and fuel into the engine. That process is all a carburetor does, is mixes air and fuel. Well, this carburetor, I ran this tiller out of fuel last fall, or last time we used it, and this is the float bowl that sits underneath the carburetor full of fuel. And look at all that crap. A lot of guys call this varnish. It's old gasoline that's dried up. it probably was all varnished up, and then I dried it out by draining the fuel out of it, but it's left all of this behind. So I've got to go through this carburetor and clean all of that up. And when I do so, I think this tiller is going to run a lot better. I'll be back. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully that looks a little different. Clean the carburetor up. This little piece here, this is how the carburetor fits on the motor. This little piece right here is a float, and it determines the fuel level that's in this bowl down here. There's a fuel line that goes on right here where my finger's touching this carburetor, and the fuel runs into the bowl, and this float determines the level of that bowl, and then the carburetor drafts the fuel with the suction from the motor up into the carburetor and makes a stream or a spray through a jet into the motor that causes combustion. Well, the float in this was stuck, gummed up. The jet, I couldn't even see through it. I've cleaned it out. So I'm gonna say, and this is not a tutorial on how to rebuild a carburetor, I'm just doing a quick cleanup on it, slap it back together, and see how she runs. But definitely setting, all that varnish that was in there and dried up, that's from fuel setting in there long term. Someone else did that. And then when I dried it out, all that varnish popped loose and it's a mess. So we're all cleaned up, no more varnish. All the valves and jets and needle valve and the float and everything's working. So I'm gonna put her back together and let's see what happens. Okay, carburetor's back on. I will say, the essence of honesty and integrity and everything here, I did have to take it off twice. I missed a passage in the carburetor. I put it together and it would not run very well. So I took it back apart and I found a passage. It's a little different carburetor than I've seen before. Found a passage that was blocked and cleared it out, cleaned it out with some carb cleaner. And that's what it's supposed to do. Sit there and run and idle and do its thing. So anyway, tiller fixed. Hey friends, out in the garden and the tiller is tilling. I think the rule is if you work on the tiller, someone else has to run it maybe. I don't know. So this is Lynn's first time to run the tiller. But she's doing a great job. Can't tell, it is warm in the greenhouse. I think it got up to 91 today, 120 in here or something. It's hot and stuff was not happy. I don't know if you can see in the background there, we raised up the sides on the greenhouse. We've done that on both sides. We got both ends open. We're cooling it off. Our plans today were to put our cool weather crops outside and do more hot weather crops in here. Then we looked at the forecast. Today's April the 7th, Sunday is snow forecast, which, what the heck? So we can't do that. So we thought, well, we'll cool the greenhouse off. We tilled, Lynn tilled.
We both tilled.
Yeah. We tilled some garden space. Tomorrow we're gonna put some sweet peas and more beans and things like that in that won't be up by the time the snow's here, but should pop out right after the snow. Hopefully that's the last cold snap Northwest Oklahoma sees. This is getting really late. Our average latest freeze date is April the 10th. My dad told me that. Don't know where he found that out. But anyway, so we're out here. You want to talk about the strawberries?
Oh, I don't know what to say. We just planted strawberries.
We replanted, well, we unplanted and then replanted. We added soil, right?
Yeah, we were wetting them too much, and so they were dying. And so we bought some more and added some more soil and replanted the ones we had planted and then planted some new ones.
I think the wicking tub we built, which is a great idea to use a tote, but I think our water level was too high and the soil was just too wet for strawberries. So we added a bag, raised the water level. We're not going to water for a while, let the levels go down a little bit and try that, because this really should work. If somebody knows why it didn't work, let me know. But our strawberries were just turning, the leaves were turning brown, and they just were sick. Yeah, and the soil was really wet. Our water level was probably just a few inches below the surface of the soil. Like, it was really wicking everything all the way up. So we're thinking that's the issue. So we replanted today on these. So, you know, not everything's a success when you do this. We have failures and we just fix it and
live and learn.
Live and learn and go on. So that's what you do, you know. But we have a lot of successes in here too, and I think the season itself is going to be good. But it was just a weird start, and that's going to put a snow on April the 12th, which is really strange. And you add that with the weather, with the COVID deal going on and everything, it just kind of makes you wonder what the good Lord's got going on here. But anyway, we'll survive it. We'll get it planted. We'll get everything up. So anyway, that's an update for this evening. Hey everybody, if you like what we're doing on here, and that is Ruger, by the way, he is a mess. If you like what we're doing on here, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend about it, share it, get it out there. We're gonna do this for a while. We don't know how long, but we just had a lot of people ask about the different things we do and how we do it. And they say, I don't know how to grow food. I don't know how to garden. And so we thought we would show people what it's like being out here on the farmstead in Oklahoma doing some of the things we do. So anyway, if you like what we're doing, if you want a spoiled, rotten dog, his name is Ruger. Give us a like and subscribe.